Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I wanted to talk about swords in Destiny 2 Season of Defiance, why I love them right now and think they might be a little bit underrated, and ways to build around their playstyle. So, jumping right in, there's a couple things that happened this season that really benefited swords. One, we have the Artifact perk Medieval Champion. This allows you to stun Overlord champions, which is very nice and a lot of fun, being able to stun them and then just chunk them down almost immediately. It is a great playstyle in my opinion, and I've loved mixing it up with the swords. It also has the second part of the perk, which swords are overcharged in every activity that modifier is active, which is very nice. It means there's a damage bonus at almost all times for your swords, which is obviously great. Now, even without that, I think swords are still going to be very, very good going forward, but obviously that perk does help quite a bit. Then we've got all the craftable swords that are available right now. You have the older swords like the half-truce and the other half, which are solid. You can get Eater's Edge on them, but they don't really do a ton great in PvE combat compared to the returning class-specific swords that I think are very good. Because you have Gold Tusk, which was one of the few swords, maybe the only one that I know of, that has 2 damage perks, so you can get a damage perk in each slot. Yes, it's a lightweight frame, but you can definitely build around that playstyle and maximize that potential. So I really think that is one of the more underrated swords in the game. Plus, being able to craft it, get enhanced perks, all that kind of good stuff. You also have Death's Razor. This one is hard because it struggles to compete with Falling Guillotine, which is obviously very, very good and excellent for boss damage, and it's also void. So this season with volatile rounds, it makes the other void swords struggle to compete with the Falling Guillotine because that one does so much damage. However, Death's Razor can get destabilizing rounds. So next season, when you don't have volatile rounds on command, this weapon I think is going to be way more valuable for a lot of people. And I think with the right build, it can be excellent. You have a Devour build with your Warlock, and that might help you stay alive almost all the time. So I think that's going to be a very, very cool thing to run, and I'll definitely be trying to snag a crafted roll so that way I can have the perfect build on that and try it out. Then we've got Throne Cleaver. This one is tough because it is a solar sword on the Titan. I actually really love this one, but we also got the Caretaker this season, which is available for all the classes, also craftable, also solar. So both of those combined is kind of interesting. The Throne Cleaver is nice. Both of them can actually get Incandescent, which is a really fun perk on swords, especially if you have a Scorch build. I personally have my Lorelei helmet, so that way I can jump into danger and just start swinging, and my Sunspot will heal me pretty consistently. You can also throw on something like a healing grenade if you want to stay alive even more, but it just works out very nicely in a loop where you can just go in swinging and not really have to think about anything. You can do the same thing with your Stronghold exotic armor for the Titan as well, but for me personally, it's just easier to rock the Lorelei helmet, so I don't have to worry about blocking basically ever, which is very, very nice. So yeah, those two swords are going to be compared, though Throne Cleaver is an aggressive frame and does have higher impact, so keep that in mind. The Throne Cleaver, once I have that crafted, is going to be my go-to for my Titan, but the Caretaker is still very good. That's what you're seeing in the gameplay, because I did get my Throne Cleaver with Incandescent way earlier than I got one on my Throne Cleaver. So personally, that's why I'm rocking the Caretaker, but either one is very, very good. And I think Incandescent and Destabilizing Rounds are going to be better options for most people, especially with the interactions with the 3.0 subclasses, compared to your chain reaction weapons like Razor's Edge. Now, we don't have any more caster frames, so Solace Scar and Temptation Hook are still going to be pretty valuable if you enjoy that type of playstyle. I actually really do, especially in something like PvP. I think it catches a lot of people off guard. But yeah, there's just a lot of different options, and you really want to maximize your playstyle with swords. So if you need boss damage, with your sword because you don't have any heavy hitting weapons in your other 2 slots, or with your ability, then you're going to want to focus on a heavy damage dealing sword like a falling guillotine. Whereas you can also rock something like Throne Cleaver, and you're going to lose some of that damage, but it can still do enough that it's going to be fine overall. Where compared to something like Quick Fang, which or Razor's Edge or Zephyr or something like that, which is much more likely to be an ad clear only weapon. And so in that way, you're going to need a ad clear or a boss damage super, or once snipers get buffed, and you're going to have those be able to deal boss damage there. There's a lot of different options. You can use an exotic for boss damage, depending on like a Izanagi's Burden or something like that. So there's a lot of different options, but just remember, you want to try to cover all of your bases. And so if you are rocking your, for example, your Caretaker, and you're clearing ads with your Incandescent, you're probably not going to be doing insane amounts of boss damage, and that's the only thing that'll hold that back if you don't build around it correctly. You know, you don't want to have a sword and then an SMG and then maybe like Waveframe Grenade Launcher, for example, if you're not running like Falling Guillotine for heavy damage, just because you're going to be struggling to do DPS, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. So overall, like I said, I am a massive fan of swords right now. I think even going forward, we're going to see a lot of them still be viable even without the Medieval Champion perk, because they benefit so heavily from the 3.0 subclasses. So next season, if we get arc perks from the artifact, then you might see a rise in something like quick or the bequest from the raid. So that might be something that we see a lot of going forward. But having them be craftable, I think, is a huge part of it, with them being able to kind of hunt down your specific perks. You already have the Falling Guillotine, which is readily available and often sold at the gunsmith. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts. We also have this season the Nas Redden. That's one that I don't think is all that good. It's a adaptive frame sword, and I just don't care for it too much. I do have a Zephyr, which is very fun, that I use. That's only burst or adaptive frame weapon that I'm a fan of. So yeah, anyway, I know I kind of went on a tangent there a little bit. My name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, use your swords in Destiny 2. They're a lot of fun, I promise you. I hope you have a good one, and I will catch you all later.